So if you're a Christian, God says He has plans for you to prosper and not harm you and to give you a hope and a future. So we should trust in the plan that He has for us instead of going to a psychic or medium. God tells us in the Bible to not go to spiritual mediums, psychics, because they're going to tell you a future that is out of alignment with God. By using the power of suggestion, a future of you not going down the narrow road that leads to life, a future that is an alternate of you going down a path that leads to sin, death, and destruction. Dressed up as things you want to hear, or maybe things you didn't want to hear. But you have free will. So taking their advice could lead you down the path where you're out of alignment with God and your true higher self. So if you go to someone who's dabbling in the magic arts, who are talking to evil spirits, you're participating in witchcraft, and that's how you get monitoring spirits attached to you, and that's how they're able to know these alternate universes of yourself by using demons. Believing in alternate universes is like FOMO. This is how they get it right too, because they're speaking it into existence. And what they speak, if you believe it, it will come true, because belief is very powerful, and these demons are smart. They've been living around for many centuries. So if you have done that, you're going to need a spiritual deliverance, which I think would be fasting and praying, because you don't want these evil spirits watching you, being assigned to you. Evil spirits coming against you to try to mess up what God is trying to do for you and just make things very difficult for you. You know how when people think the evil eye is protecting you? But it's in the name. The eye is evil. The eye that's watching you is not protecting you. It's a monitoring spirit. You know how when you're like doing something and you feel someone watching you, and then you quickly turn your head and you can see them quickly turn so that they didn't see you seeing them? It's like they're watching you, staring with disgust to make you feel uncomfortable. Like, nobody likes the feeling of a peeping Tom, right? I feel like that's what they're doing. Like the Watchers, the fallen angels, they took wives for themselves. I know they were watching everyone, but they took the wives because they were peeping. You know that uncomfortable feeling in a room where you're alone but you feel like someone's watching you? You know that meme where it's like drunk people pointing and staring? Or how people just watch on the sideline when someone gets trips or gets hurt? Those people that watch from a distance, that prey on your downfall. So to not have that and be on God's side, where God's protecting you from that, you obey His commands. When you go to those mediums, those are the evil spirits that get attached to you. And God prohibits us from seeing those things so that we don't become unclean like they are, because they are demonic, unclean spirits. The Bible is not playing around when it says that those who practice magic arts, the idolaters and all the liars, they will be consigned to a fiery and burning sulfur. And this is the second death. So yes, the practicing of fortune telling is magic arts. And it says anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. That's what the Bible says. It says, do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. So becoming defiled is becoming impure, unholy, and spiritually corrupt. So you definitely don't want to mess around with that. The Bible says, do not sacrifice your sons or daughters in the fires of your altar. Do not learn what will happen in the future by talking to a fortune teller or by going to a magician, a witch or a sorcerer or a psychic. It says here, and her prophets have smeared whitewash for them, seeing false visions, divining lies for them, saying, thus saith the Lord, when the Lord has not spoken. So they're telling you this is going to happen in your life, but they have no idea if that is what's going to happen. It's an idea that a demon has given them. And remember, you have free will. So if someone says to you, oh, you're going to be this, you're going to do that, like, who cares what somebody else thinks that you're going to do, or what somebody else sees you? Like, you would make a good realtor. You would make a good, who cares? If it's something that you want to do, you should do it. But don't do something just because somebody else says that you would, that you're going to do it. And then here, I wanted to read all the translations, but this one stuck out to me where it says, "There shall not be found among you any that maketh his son or daughter to pass through fire, or useth divination, or observer of times." I thought that was an interesting translation there because often watchmen, were observing the times. And a lot of times they were saying, "Thus saith the Lord," to things that didn't happen. So I think they fell into idolatry, idolizing people that were thought to be prophets, and really just seeking future events. Like they're seeking their future in a way. They're using like these so-called prophets as in a way for them to know the future. And God warns us, don't seek others to know your future. That's why the power of suggestion is very powerful. Like, I remember growing up, I would tell my parents something random, and that'd be such disbelief that they would actually do what I said. Like, I would be like, "Canada, let's go to Canada." And I would be suggesting that for months, and then suddenly they would be like, and then they were like, "We're going to Canada." And I was like, what? The power of suggestion, I realized how easily they were implemented. Another one when it comes to the power of suggestion is like when you go to the doctor and they're like, "You have 6 months to live," and the person's like, "Oh," and then they believe that. I mean, it doesn't help that it goes into their brain and into the belief system of their brain where their body your body will follow and start to believe it. Like, yes, your body is sick. It doesn't help though, like the placebo effect. If your body knows it's sick and then somebody on top of it tells you you don't have much time to live, it's not going to help. So belief is very powerful. So when you go to someone and they tell you something that's not true, but then you believe it so much, then it will become true. And that's exactly what that demon wanted. And I also wanted to say with the rapture predictions or prophecies, it's almost like a fine line that I want to make sure I stay away from doing, because the Bible says to be found doing good works, so you have to stay away from evil. And so if you're staying away from all appearances of evil, and one seems to predict the future and the other one, God says to stay away from people who are trying to tell you the future. So prophecy and those who are predicting the future are two different things. However, it can be like a very fine line and too close for comfort. When someone is predicting the future for the rapture to be a certain date and then it doesn't happen, then they were led by deceitful spirits and spiritualists.